Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Canas podcast. This week, there's quite a few things that we'll be talking about. We'll be touching briefly on soccer. We'll talk about the MLB, the Blue Jays, and then the postseason that unfortunately is not including the Blue Jays. The NFL. There's a tennis tournament going on right now, a pretty big ATP and WTA tournament. There's golf going on right now, as well as obviously the NHL season starting up. So let's just get started here. So we'll briefly touch on soccer. On Friday, we're going to release an episode solely on soccer, and because this is a really big week for soccer, I feel it was a pretty good thing to just have a whole episode based on that. So all we'll touch base on is that Canada already played Mexico, tied 1-1.
Which is actually really good.
In Mexico, I was over the moon. I was over the moon.
I was surprised we got away with 1 point.
Yeah.
I was happy.
Yeah.
I was really happy.
They played Jamaica later on today, so obviously we can't touch base on that. However, they're going to have a game against Jamaica and then a game against Panama that we'll talk about on Friday. And then the women's and men's Ballon d'Or nominations came out.
Ooh.
And 3 women are in contention for the Ballon d'Or, which is the best women's player in the world.
Canadian women?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's pretty crazy.
That is pretty good.
Yeah. And then I don't know about the men's list, but we'll talk about that more on Friday. So for all of you who want to listen about soccer, something that I think we're both very passionate about, but I cry over it, so we will talk about that on Friday. So moving on from soccer to the MLB. So we'll start with the Blue Jays. Blue Jays ended up their season with a pretty good record, man. Like 90 plus wins and you still don't make the playoffs. Like, that's absurd.
That's crazy. And then there's like some teams that win with got in with like 85 or something, and it's just like we tried our hardest and then still couldn't make it.
So I'm sad that they didn't make it, but I'm also I'm happy that they had this as a learning experience because they were in the driver's seat. They could have easily made it if they would have just won the games they were supposed to against those freaking Minnesota Twins, and but you know what? They'll learn from it, man. Like I've said it on here before. They are 1 rotation arm and 2 bullpen arms away from competing, in my opinion. So, but also, do you think the MLB should look into changing up their postseason kind of format? Because 4 AL East teams were better than any one of some of the other AL teams.
So kind of go with playoffs. Kind of go with the top whatever of the whole division, the AL division.
Yeah, kind of like how the NHL's had it for a while, but not anymore. I mean,
NBA,
I guess
I think does it.
Yeah, the NBA does it. I think this encourages, the way that they have it right now encourages rivalries and encourages those Boston Yankees massive games. You know what I mean? But the best teams clearly didn't make the postseason.
It just sucks seeing teams that are have 88 wins make it, but us with Toronto having 91, barely missing.
Yeah.
It's just tough to watch good teams not make it.
Yeah. Well, even this the Dodgers had 106 wins, I think, 107 around there, and they had to play in the wild card game.
No, that's crazy.
That's the second best team in the entire league, and they had to play a winner go home game. That's absurd, man.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. Dodgers with 106 wins had to play in a wild card game, while Atlanta, who only has 88 wins, made it because they're a division leader.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
that's nuts. I mean, I think this is an anomaly. I think last year, the years prior, it wasn't like this much. But and I like how you touch base on Atlanta. So Atlanta, if you remember, we have that Mike Soroka kid, right? That's the pitcher. He's not playing right now because of his torn Achilles. But Atlanta actually has another guy that actually represents Canada on that team. Yeah, so he's actually one of the better players in the league for the longest time. I had him as my first round pick for half of my fantasy leagues and back in the day. But so Freddie Freeman was born and raised in the States, but at the age of 10 his mother died, but his mother was Canadian. So after her death, it seems that he vowed to represent Canada in honor of her. So in the last World Baseball Classic and whatnot, he represented Canada. So technically,
So
I'm going to
technically he's
consider him a
American,
Canadian.
but
Like,
he wants to
American,
be
but
Canadian.
he's dual citizenship,
Oh
right?
yeah, no, so he is.
So he's
Canadian,
representing Canada. And like looking at this postseason, so like I'm looking at the postseason and trying to see like, okay, what's the difference between all these guys and like the Toronto Blue Jays, right? And I don't think any one of these teams, with maybe the exception of the Yankees, has as dominant an offense as the Blue Jays. Like the Blue Jays' offense was truly like a generational style. Like from 1 to 9, their offense was incredible. But it's like I'm looking at these games, man, and these pitch like there's so many shutout innings. It's just dominant pitching performances that are going out there from not only the starters but from the bullpen. So it's like I'm really hoping that like the Toronto, like the president Shapiro and then the Aikens, the GM, I'm really hoping that they look into that because they have money to spend this offseason. If they have the budget to be able to spend money that they need. So re-sign Robbie Ray, sign Marcus Semien.
Yeah,
Semien was an
Semien.
absolute gem for the development of Bo Bichette. Now,
Right.
if Kevin Biggio comes back next year, he'll be another person that can be mentored by Semien again. And like Semien wasn't going to be here for like 12 years. The guy's already in his 30s, right? Like, so I don't know, man. Semien and Bray are probably our two, and Guerrero's our MVP for the season.
Oh, yeah.
So, and even so, like another thing we'll touch base on is Guerrero is actually in the running for the AL MVP.
Mm-hmm.
And him between it's I think right now the three are going to be either him, Salvador Perez of the Kansas City Royals, or Shohei Ohtani of the Angels.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Robbie Ray is actually in the running for the Cy Young.
Really?
Yeah, so
Nice.
I was looking at his numbers, and like there's like MLB released some numbers and stats, and Sportsnet released some stuff too, and like obviously Sportsnet's Canadian, so they're biased as well. Because they want a Canadian team to win something, right? But Robbie Ray is amongst the top 3 pitchers in the AL this year for sure. His ERA is really good. His strikeouts are pretty high up there. The amount of innings that he pitched is pretty impressive. So he was pretty clutch this entire season, I think. So to have 2 Blue Jays in the running for some prestigious awards, that's pretty good, man. And like, so the Silver Slugger, I think we're gonna have like 3 Blue Jays win a Silver Slugger award this year. Like Guerrero was the best first baseman offensively. Semien was the best second baseman offensively. I think Bichette was the best shortstop offensively. Or I think they might be the other way around.
Mm.
But even then, like Semien broke a record for most home runs by his position in like the last like billion years. I don't know, like
Probably not that long.
Yeah, but like he still broke. He still has like a record kind of thing, right? So that's pretty impressive, man. Like this team, it's going in the right direction. I feel very confident with them. It's just, yeah, they just have to build.
Need help with the pitching.
They just need to build some pitching arms, and like they're the people that are coming up, their prospects aren't as good as they were because we got rid of a few of them for Berrios. But I mean, I think Berrios is still a good pitcher. You just got to get like a good, like he can be like a 4th or 5th starter for us, I think. Not necessarily a top 3 rotation, but 4th or 5th would be good. Did you see the rumor about Stroman coming back?
To Toronto?
Yeah.
Really?
I'd love that, man. So like
that'd be interesting.
The story behind that though, it's like, so he's on Twitter. Stroman's really active on Twitter and all that kind of stuff, right? And then somebody tweets at him, it's like, yo, like, bro, come back to Toronto. He's like, I wouldn't mind a reunion. ... So it's like, okay, he's open to it. So we'll see how it goes. I don't know if Aikens or Shapiro actually wants him or not.
Yeah.
But we'll see. He was pretty good with the Mets, man. He was putting up pretty decent numbers. He was like in the top 10 in a couple categories in the entire NL. So like that's pretty good. I think he'd be a good
Is his
addition.
contract coming up, or is
his contract's over. He's a free agent.
Okay, so I was gonna say like if we're gonna need to trade, then probably not. But if it's
if we just
free agency, then that's totally fine by me. Yeah.
I don't even think we have the prospect capital to make big trades that we need right now. I think it's like these guys have like from Anthopoulos until now. Developing our farm system has been really, really solid and a really big focal point of these guys. So I think we do have, but like you still want to bring people up to like offset salaries, right? Like it's like in the NHL, you want rookie contracts coming up so that your big paid guys can still play, and like it just makes sense. But
yeah.
Anyways, I mean I'm very confident with the Blue Jays. I think we're gonna do really well for years to come. It's just this is a big offseason. This is a big offseason. You can become a legit pennant contender this offseason if you do everything right.
So kind of like the Oilers this offseason.
Yeah, kind of like the Oilers this offseason. But another Canadian that's a pretty prominent role in the sporting world right now. I know we're flipping complete from random sports to another, but there's a lot to talk about today. So Chuba Hubbard and the NFL. So we're going to talk about Chuba Hubbard and Chase Claypool. So last week Claypool was actually injured, didn't play. This week Claypool's planning on playing. But as we both mentioned in the last episode, Claypool's production is entirely based on Big Ben and Ben Roethlisberger. And Ben is having a horrific year. Like a bad year. Like by his standards at least. By an average quarterback, he's actually doing somewhat but like for Ben it's awful.
And probably for fantasy people too.
Yeah. Do you think this is it for Ben?
Do they have anyone to replace Ben?
That's the thing. Their quarterback situation in Pittsburgh right now is pretty abysmal, man. So they have Ben Roethlisberger as their starter, who, honestly, man, in my opinion, he's going to go down as one of the greatest of this generation for sure, and I think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. But
probably for Pittsburgh too, in general.
Yeah. And then you have what's his face? The guy that got remember Myles Garrett threw a helmet at this quarterback, Mason Rudolph.
Right.
Mason Rudolph is their secondary guy, and then their third string is Haskins that they got from. So I have a lot more confidence in Haskins than I do in Rudolph. I do not think Rudolph is a very good quarterback for NFL standards, at least. I think he's a hell of a player and a hell of an athlete, but like for an NFL team, I don't think he's a top 2 arm really. Mm-hmm. I'd rather Kaepernick, but that can be a different conversation. So I think, Big Ben doesn't really have many people challenging him at all. So I think he stays in there. But if they need to change it up, I would go to Haskins as opposed to Rudolph. Because Haskins, in my opinion, has more potential. He's just a clown. He's just an immature clown that just doesn't know how to act professionally.
And then Rudolph just has experience. So, in real life, he's probably going to take the role if Ben, let's say, leaves right now. But yeah, probably if Haskins, grows up, then I would probably want him over Rudolph for sure.
Yeah, I think so as well. And they could have easily drafted a quarterback this year too, but they chose not to because they thought that Big Ben would do. I think it's because they thought Big Ben would do well. But listen, man, Chase Claypool's an unbelievable player, man. His route running has gone so much better too. He's so fast. He's got great hands.
A lot,
yeah, his hands. I love the fact how good his hands are. He doesn't drop many balls, which is
he goes for everything too.
Yeah, 100%. He's 100% or 0. You know what I mean? He just gives everything he has. So he's he's really just dependent on the quarterback situation. And Ben's throwing 50 to 60 throws a game. And they're not going very far. They're all short. So it's not realistic to expect Claypool to get many yards. But listen, man, Claypool's career is just obviously starting. I feel very strongly that he will turn into one of the better wide receivers in the league. Maybe not top 5, but definitely in the top 10 to 15 range. That's one of the first wide receivers that you draft in a fantasy draft with a good quarterback, right? So we'll see how that goes. And then Chuba Hubbard. Chuba played last week against the Cowboys. He didn't have a super great game. He averaged 4.5 yards a carry, so that's not bad actually. That's I think what the average is about 3 to 3.5.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so if you average 4.5, you're averaging a first down every time, right? Because my math is right. We're good. Cool. And then 2 receptions for 14 yards. So they didn't use him too much, unfortunately. But I feel, again, with McCaffrey being out and the fact that they lost last game, hopefully they'll use him more. But I don't. Until they use him more, obviously he's not going to put up numbers, right?
Yeah,
but I guess he also has to put up.
Like I was saying, when they give him the ball, he does really well, but they don't give him the ball that much.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you said, if they give him the ball more, then they'll see that he's actually really good, and they can actually probably win if they use him.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I feel if he has 1 or 2 big runs, I feel they're okay, man, just take the football.
Right.
You clearly know what you're doing. But I think he needs to have those 1 or 2 big runs. I think he has a 7 or 8 yard runs on that sometimes and all that kind of stuff. So
his past 3 games, his longest run was 9 yards or more. The last 2 games was 14 yards, and then week 2 against the Saints, his longest was 9. So he can run the ball really far if he can. But
I mean, I feel he's a consistent back, and he's
Yes.
only going to get better once
Yeah.
he gets used to it.
Once he
So I
gets more
completely
reps,
agree. Yeah, and I think, I mean, 9 and 14 yards feels like a lot, but I'm saying like a 20 or even 20 plus yard run. You know what I mean? Like, or last year Derrick Henry had an 85-yard touchdown run to win me the game in just one play. I'm like, okay, thanks, buddy, appreciate it. But like one of those kinds of runs, you know what I mean? But it's a lot easier said than done.
Oh, definitely.
I don't know, man. The kid's skilled. He's fast. I think he with more experience, he'll be able to get this, and this is a perfect chance for him to gain this experience.
And he's just a rookie too, and he's doing really, really well. So
I don't know if there's a single team that was a better fit for him than the Carolina Panthers.
Oh, well, like getting mentored by McCaffrey is like, why not go to Carolina? If you're a running back, why not go to Carolina?
Well, not just that, like McCaffrey's injury history, like he was going to get playing time.
But like
right?
just still like getting mentored by him.
100%. McCaffrey is an incredible talent and a great leader too, actually, from my understanding. Like, he wears a captain band on that team. He's one of him, Darnold, and anyways, but he's a great leader to be able to learn from. But just the situation, his playing style that the Hubbard has, I feel it's like a pretty good fit. Like he would not have done well in the Tennessee offense. Because the Tennessee offense has a monstrosity of a back in Derrick Henry who just plows people over. Hubbard isn't a big back. Hubbard's a skilled guy just like McCaffrey. I mean, I don't think he's as good as McCaffrey, but he's the playing style of McCaffrey, right? Yeah. So, man, Sherwood Park is going over the moon over this kid. Like, he's so good, man. He's so good. And just so much promise. Just makes me so happy to watch.
Just like a local guy just in the NFL is awesome.
Yeah,
like, like Canadian person in the NFL, that's awesome. But, like, just a local guy, like from Sherwood Park, which is, like, super close
100%. And that's so, you could not be more right about that. It's so nice to finally see that happening right now, you know? So, that's it for like the two main Canadians in the NFL. Like, we have a defensive back. I don't know if you saw that episode on TSN in regards to the Canadian football players on Friday. I didn't. I completely forgot. I'm gonna watch it later, and we'll probably talk about it next week. But, So we're gonna move on to tennis now. We haven't talked about tennis in a while. I don't think we talked about it in the last episode or the last two episodes actually. There's currently a tournament going on right now. So for those of you who don't know, the ATP and WTA tours are the men's and women's tennis tours respectively. And then there's a bunch of different tournaments going on throughout the year. So they have the Grand Slams, which is the big tournaments. Those are for 2,000 ranking points. You have the ATP, I don't know what they call them anymore, like the elite tournaments, I guess, or the ATP 1000 events, which is obviously in the name. It's for 1,000 points, so it's like the second biggest tournaments, and most of the big guys and girls actually end up playing in that one. And then you have like 500 and then 200s or 250s, whatever. But like those are small tournaments.
So those numbers are like
for the ranking
points?
Yeah.
Oh, I actually did not know that.
But anyway, so right now is a Masters tournament. That's what they're called. The 1000s are the Masters. So right now we have the Indian Wells Masters going on. And we have a few Canadians representing in the tournament. And actually, 4 of the 5 are seeded. On the men's side, we have Denis Shapovalov, who's made it past the second round. He's now in the third round. I mean, he only played one game, and it was a walkover over Pospisil, who is also Canadian, because Pospisil like had an injury or something. But Pospisil won his first match in round 1, so that was kind of nice to see. And then Felix Auger-Aliassime plays against a Spaniard as well in his first match of the game. So they're both seeded. So the way that the Masters events work is that they get a bye in the first round once you're seeded. So they can get into it on the second round already. So Denis Shapovalov is seeded 9th. Felix is seeded 7th. So just by those rankings alone, Felix should make it into the quarters, and then Denis should challenge for a quarters final spot or even round of 16. Definitely into the round of 16. So, yeah, I mean, this is a big tournament, and some of the biggest names in tennis are playing in it right now. Or, sorry, some of the current biggest names in tennis are playing in it right now. We don't have any of the big 3. So the big three I refer to as Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic. Neither of those three are playing in this tournament right now. But this is the next generation of tennis happening in this tournament right now. I think all the young guys are in there. We'll talk about the men's side right now, and Felix and Shapo have I think they'll do well. I mean, Felix made it to the semifinals of the U.S. Open, right? So I think he has the ability of playing at that level. It's just they have to just be consistent, right?
Yeah.
And then,
a better way to being more consistent is by playing better top tier players, which they're doing right now.
Yeah.
So it's only going to go up for them for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. Like, you're not going to get the experience and you're not going to get better without playing the best players, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be an interesting one for sure. So, I mean, Denis Shapovalov is in the top half of the draw, so he's going to have a tough time because he's going to be playing. If he makes it all the way through, he'll play the number 1 seed in Medvedev. But his next round looks like it's going to be against Aslan Karatsev from Russia. So he's a really good player, seeded 19th. I think Shapo can beat him. I believe that he's a good player, and he'll be able to beat Karatsev. And then after that, I mean, not looking too far ahead, but it's the next highest seed in there is Hubert Hurkacz from Poland, who's more of a clay service kind of tennis player anyway. So I think Shapo has a respectable. He has to beat Hurkacz to make it to the quarterfinals to be able to play against Medvedev. So if he plays the way he should, I believe he has a chance at least making it to the quarterfinals and challenging Medvedev for a spot, right? So, and then we talked about Felix. Felix is, from my understanding, in the bottom half of the draw.
Yeah, he is.
And his matchup right now against Albert Ramos Vinolas, he's not a bad player. I mean, you have to be really good to play the ATP Tour anyways, but this is definitely a match that Felix should win.
Oh, yeah.
And then the matchup after that is against a really good Georgian player, actually, in Nicolas Blashvili, or Christopher Eubanks, who actually Eubanks is a pretty solid player as well right now. He's playing some good tennis. I apologize for the background noise. We have some construction going on here, and they don't know how to be quiet, so that's that. So the men, and then Pospisil, as you know, is out. He lost to Shapo, but he was injured. And then on the women's side, we have 2 women representing us, and that's defending champion Bianca Andreescu.
Ooh.
Yep. And then U.S. Open finalist Leylah Annie Fernandez. I mean, Bianca has the most pressure. Bianca needs to win this to maintain her ranking points. So I mean, she's already dropped a lot after her U.S. Open, not winning the U.S. Open again. So she's been injured for a while. So like that's the issue with her.
Mm-hmm.
She won yesterday in a 3-setter against Alison Risk, and Alison Risk is a really good tennis player. So I mean, I'm glad that she ended up winning. She won 7-6, 5-7, 6-2. So these tournaments are all 3-setters anyways, or sorry, best of 3. But man, Bianca cannot be playing in these long games if she's going to
stay healthy.
Yeah, she has to win games quicker than that. So, and then we have Leylah Annie Fernandez. So there's this I use this really interesting website, livetennis.eu, that gives you the live rankings. If the tournament were to end right now, it would give you the live rankings of how they are. So like looking at this, Bianca would be 22nd and Leylah is 27th. Okay, so this gives you 1,000 points if you win. So Bianca would drop to 22nd. I mean, she's seated 16th right now, right? So she would drop all the way to 22nd. But if she wins, that she would go back up to, I don't know, like somewhere in the like 10 to 16 range around there. Leylah Annie Fernandez, if she plays how she played in the U.S. Open, she can move up into the top 20 for sure. I think that's a realistic goal for her. She's not seated super high up. So, like, she'll have a more challenging draw than Bianca Andreescu. However, she played the toughest ever, like, road to the finals in the U.S. Open history, in my opinion. I actually think that might actually be completely true. Like, 2 former number 1s, 3 top 5 players total, just to get from like round of 16 to the finals.
To the finals. Yeah.
Right? Or third round to the finals, because in the third round she beat Osaka. Fourth round it was Kerber. Fifth round was Svitolina, and then semifinals was the number 2. So number 5, 2, 1. Yeah, it was absolutely incredible how she ended up doing that. So she's in the bottom half of the draw, which I'm honestly ecstatic, man. Like, I'm so happy that the Canadians are opposite sides of the draw. Like, in years past, like Australian Opens in past, we would play, all of our Canadians would be out by the second round except for one because they would only play against each other. It's so stupid, man. But I digress. Yeah, Leylah just ended up beating Alizé Cornet, which is a really good tennis player, like a very much experienced tennis player.
She just beat her hand, like, easily, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it really wasn't that close. So her next matchup is going to be against the number 9 seed, Anastasia Palichudlovkova, however you say that, the Russian lady. That's going to be a tough matchup, man. That's going to be definitely a tough matchup. But the draw opens up after that pretty easily, actually. So I'm hoping that if she can get past that Russian lady, I think she can go pretty far. I think that's all we'll really touch on. Like, by next week when you hear the episode, I mean, they'll be pretty much wrapping up the tournament, so you'll know more about how the Canadians fared and how they did. These WTA 1000 events and ATP 1000 events, they don't last the 2 full weeks that the U.S. Open and the Grand Slams do. They really only last a week and a half if you include qualification. So I think I expect to see one Canadian, whether it be on the men's or women's side, one Canadian will be in the semifinals or better. That's my prediction for this. I think it's realistic too. I think
like especially for the women, I could see
yeah
one or both maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
semis.
Yeah, it all matters about consistency and it matters about injuries.
Yes.
If Bianca's healthy, Bianca is one of the better players in the world when she plays at her level, right? And Leylah's getting there, so I don't know. I'm pumped. It'll be good tennis to watch. I do highly recommend anybody watching this because it is very entertaining tennis to watch, like very high level tennis, and we get to see Canadian content there. So we'll quickly move on to golf. So the golf's major season is also done, but there's still some tournaments going on. And one Canadian that has consistently been in contention in almost every tournament that I've seen, there's one Canadian that's consistently in contention, and that's Corey Conners. So Corey Conners, he's in the top 30 in the world right now. Like he's ranking is pretty high up there, and he's just 4 shots back of the lead right now. As at the moment of recording, 4 shots back of the lead of the tournament that they're playing in the golf PGA Tour right now. I don't think he's actually won a tournament. I can't even think. But Corey Conners is a pretty consistent golfer, man. Like he's doing quite well. Like he's not amongst the best in the top few in the world, but like Adam Hadwin's in contention here as well.
Yeah.
I think it was Adam Hadwin instead of Conners. I might
have made
a mistake.
Close.
Oh, Conners is 41st. He's 8 shots.
Hadwin is tied for 7th with 4 shots behind.
Yeah, so Conners is 10 back. Adam Hadwin is 4, so my apologies for that. But Hadwin's actually come back to do quite well. He was consistent. He was the Conners of 2 or 3 years ago, but he's actually coming back to do pretty well. And it's pretty interesting golf to watch. I couldn't tell you what differentiates the greatest in the world from that, but I think it's just about consistency and just hitting the shots that you're supposed to. Right? I mean, none of these guys are going to hit a 4,000-yard drive like Bryson DeChambeau.
I was just going to go over the course.
Yeah, right.
4,000 yards.
But, and then in the LPGA, we also have Brooke Henderson playing. She's a really big name in golf. But as I mentioned, these aren't really big tournaments on the PGA Tour. The PGA Championship just finished and all that kind of stuff. Same with the LPGA Championship is coming up, I believe, relatively soon. So that'll be an interesting one that you and I can talk about also in the coming weeks. But I think really I don't know if we're going to touch more about golf on today's episode. There's Canadians in contention. It's nice to see.
Yes.
If they win a tournament, then we'll talk about that as well. But Canadian golf is not really bad right now. We have a couple big good names. Mike Weir was probably the biggest name that most of you will probably know. Most of the listeners will know. Mike Weir won the Masters one year. But ever since then, he won one of the Champions Tour events a few weeks ago as well. So the Champions Tour is for like former champions of the PGA Tour that are like pretty much retired now or like getting to the age of retirement. Like Phil Mickelson played there in this last week's event, so it's interesting. I mean, we'll see how it goes, but yeah, Brooke Henderson is playing this tournament. She's not necessarily in contention right now. She's like tied for 14th, like 9 shots back. So, and with 1 round to go, that's pretty tough to come back from. But she is a major champion. She's 11th in the world right now. So she's yeah. I mean, we'll see how it goes. But instead of the FedEx Cup, they have the Globe Cup, and she's 9th in the Globe Cup standings, from my understanding. We'll see how that goes. I mean, she has a chance. She's never out of it, but she's pretty far back of first place, Korda, so it'll be a challenging one to do. But and then this week we'll finish off with, we'll talk about the NHL here as well. We're gonna finish off this episode with something different, and I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. So definitely, stay tuned to that. We'll talk about the season, then we'll finish off with what we're gonna
preseason.
This preseason, and then we'll finish off with our little surprise for you guys here. So, preseason. I mean, I know the rankings. There's nothing to really look into, but
looking at preseason, I guess doesn't really matter. It's just more for the teams to like see who's just gonna make the team, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So Edmonton, Vancouver played last night, and we rested our 4 best players. So McDavid, Barrie, Nurse, Draisaitl, Smith, all 5 of them didn't go on the trip, and we ended up winning 3-2. But it was a lot closer than we cared. So Koskinen actually stood on his head in the first period.
Koskinen is actually pretty decent this
Koskinen's playing played a really good,
which is surprising, but
I'm shocked. However, he's done this throughout his entire career. He's done it. So until I want him to let in the first goal and then stand on his head for the rest of the game. I want that to happen. If that happens, then yeah, okay, you know what? I trust you again.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't think he comes back next season. I think this is his last year in the Oilers because Stuart Skinner's coming up, and Stuart Skinner also had a very good preseason. He stood on his head for one game for sure. The whole reason we won it was because Stuart Skinner was just ungodly on that game. I think the Oilers roster is pretty much set. We ended up leading the Pacific in the preseason standings. I mean, again, only preseason, who cares? But I was pretty impressed with our showing, considering that McDavid only played 3 games. I was pretty happy with it, and we played a pretty full Vancouver team last game as well, so we'll see how it goes. I mean, Duncan Keith, I was really impressed with him. Yesterday's game, he did have a couple little giveaways, but they weren't giveaways in the middle of the ice that were going to result in goals. They were giveaways like calculated giveaways, I think. Like he's I'm either going to ice the puck or I'm going to just give it away way in the back over there. So I've been really looking at Duncan Keith this whole preseason just to see how he's going to do. Because I'm pretty nervous about it, to be completely honest with you. Like, I think our defense really depends on Duncan Keith and Cody Ceci doing well together. So
yeah, I agree.
So we'll see how it goes, but I as of right now, I'm feeling pretty confident in those guys. And then Duncan Keith's leadership, I think, has already started to show. I think in just the 2 games that he's played, he's really demonstrated what kind of leader he is and how he's going to help this team grow. He's not going to have an A unless there's injuries, and if there's injuries and he has the A, that's going to suck because that means 3 guys are injured. 3 of our best players are injured, but he's going to play anywhere between 18 to 22 minutes a game, which is a good amount, not too much, not too little. He'll be a difference maker. He'll be an exceptional role model for Bouchard and Nurse. Somebody who's going to really mentor those 2 guys. And then Bouchard's still a kid, man, so I'm really happy with that. And
he's still a kid, but looks like a dad.
He's Yamamoto's dad, right? So obviously, again, we mentioned it's just the preseason. There's not much to look into on this, but the records for the preseason were the Oilers ended up 6-1-1, Calgary Flames were 3-4-1, Vancouver was 2-5, Winnipeg was 2-3-1, Ottawa 3-4-0, Toronto 5-1-0, and Montreal was 2-3-1. So yeah, I mean, Detroit's not going to finish 4-4-0 in the real season. That's not happening. And then Arizona ended up winning their division with a 5-1-0 record. This, again, just preseason. this isn't really going to happen, but it's a promising thing to
But
look
still,
at.
it kind of looks like it kind of like shows you like how their prospects, I guess, or their like
The depth,
like the depth of their team is doing. Because like preseason, Edmonton 6-1-1, but like looking at the games that they played, like most of their games that they won were without like McDavid and Draisaitl and all that. So it's showing like their depth is actually, I guess, improving from like earlier years. So it's just good to see that like without Connor McDavid and Draisaitl, we won't be like fish swimming in oil. Like we won't be just left to die kind of thing. We still have a chance to like win. Hopefully, like
agreed.
Just showing us the depth of the team is really cool.
Yeah, and I'm really hoping that like players like Tyler Benson don't get picked off on waivers because I'd love to have him on this team, but I don't think he makes this team. No. Just his showing last game wasn't great. I mean, I have nothing but respect for the guy. I've been I've been like a number one fan of his for the last 4 years since he got drafted. I don't think he makes this team as a bottom six forward. He's more of an offensive kind of guy, and I'm sorry, you're not taking over Ryan Nugent-Hopkins or Zach Hyman in the lineup. That's just not happening. No. Like they're two really solid players, but we'll see how that goes. The season starts for the Oilers on Wednesday. The actual season starts on Tuesday. The first game will be Pittsburgh and Tampa Bay, and so some Pittsburgh news that's has to do with Canadians is Crosby. So Crosby's going to miss the first week of the season because he had his wrist surgery late. But that makes sense to me, man. Like Crosby has always been a very calculated, methodical man when it comes to dealing with his own injuries. He wants to extend his career as long as possible, and if that means taking the extra week of rehab and like getting all of his possible scenarios and like all the opinions that he can possibly get to be able to play longer, that's why he took so long to take the surgery.
Like, I don't blame him. Like, he wants to be the best still, so why not take your time to heal up properly and then just show us that he's still one of the best players and one of the best Canadians in the world.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree. So I'm happy with Crosby. And then, so McDavid, Crosby, and Pietrangelo are already named to Team Canada. Did you see that?
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good squad already, man. We'll win every 3v3.
Actually, yeah, probably.
The States is going to give us a challenge with Kane, Jones, and Matthews. But that's a pretty good three.
That's still pretty good three. But
I like our three a lot more. Crosby, McDavid, and Pietrangelo. And so that's pretty big news. I mean, I don't think it was... We both had them in our top pairing and top two lines. I mean, Crosby, McDavid. Could you imagine one playing the wing and the... Like, McDavid was asked the other day, he's like, hey, you're in a line with Crosby. Who's playing center? He's like, oh, Crosby, dude. Like, he has so much more experience. He's better on the face-offs. Like, he's the best player in the world. He's so modest, too. Hey, McDavid's like... Okay, honestly, I would probably make more sense to put Crosby in center because of the face-off. But McDavid is a better player right now.
Yeah.
But, anywho. So... I was pretty, like, no surprise there. But you know what? We're going to be looking back at our Olympic roster, and then we're going to both realize that we both excluded Jonathan Toews. But Toews has had a really good preseason, and he's coming back to full form. He might actually, if he plays well for this first half of the season, he will make the Olympic team.
Yeah, honestly, like, to be honest, like, in our, like, fantasy league and in our, like, salary cap fantasy league, no one picked Toews. Just because of how it was last year.
It was risky.
Yeah,
it's a risky pick, especially because his injury was very strange.
Yes.
I don't even know. Like, I think you need to be a legit scientist to fully understand what was going on. Or, like, an actual doctor to fully understand what was going on with him. It was, like, some autoimmune thing that was just wreaking havoc on his body that wouldn't let him heal or be healthy at all. So, Jonathan Toews coming back. Buddy, that Chicago team is going to be so good. And Toews and Fleury are going to be really big key pieces on that team to make sure that they do well this year. If Flower plays the way he can, like he did last year, and Toews plays like his elite number one center that he is, like, that is a good team. And I do not think there's a better defensive forward than Jonathan Toews when he's playing well.
No, I agree, yeah. Yeah, like, Chicago basically just came out of nowhere this preseason, so...
Yeah, I mean, and then they had decent squad. They upgraded in defense, in goal.
Yes.
For sure. They didn't necessarily need to upgrade too much in offense because they have the Canes, DeBrincat, Strome, Taves, Kubalik. Yeah, they have a lot of really good names. So I'm feeling very confident on the Chicago Blackhawks. So we're going to finish the episode today with our little bit of a surprise. So Celso and I are going to do a fantasy draft, but
with salary cap included.
So the difference between this fantasy draft and others is we have a couple different rules. So we're going to have 12 forwards, 6 defense, and 2 goalies. They're all going to play all the time. It's just going to be a combination of like their stats in the end, and we'll keep you guys updated over on Twitter and then on the YouTube channel occasionally. But this is going to be a salary cap league, so we have 81.5 million to spend on the current players' current salary cap. So it's going to be it's going to be a tough. Man, it's going to be probably one of the most challenging drafts I've ever had in my life. And then from there, we can only pick Canadian players. So this is going to be like you're going to have a couple third liners on the team.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Oh yeah.
So it'll be an interesting draft. So we're going to start with. First 5 rounds will be on this podcast, and then if you want to listen to the rest of them, you're going to have to listen to rounds 6 through 20 in the other episode, and we're going to go a little bit more in depth in this. So how we're going to pick who goes first?
I'm going to use my phone, flip a coin. Heads, you pick first. Tails, I pick first.
I'm good with that.
Hey Google, flip a coin.
It landed on tails.
Tails, okay.
Tails.
So we're going to do snake order. Celso's going to go first, I'll go second, and then I'll start the second round off here. So
sounds good.
Okay. Oh my,
so.
this is going to be tough, man. Especially salary cap. Like.
That's going to be tough, but it's going to be fun.
Do we have long-term injured reserve like Tampa Bay does? Can I spend 120 million?
We'll have one IR spot just in case someone does get injured, but.
And I like how it's just forward, defense, and goalies. Like it doesn't have to be left wing, right wing, anything. It can just
it'll just be forward.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, cool. See, Celso has the distinct advantage of being able to of having done drafts like this before. So I'm going to point this out right now. Celso has a distinct advantage.
You could have joined
never
us, but you
done
didn't.
a draft like this before. I actually went golfing yesterday and I shot an 80.
Okay, so never mind. That would have been
fun. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So
we said 60, correct? No, like 6D men.
Oh, 6D, yes.
No, not 60 as in the number. Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay, first overall pick for the Canas Canadian only fantasy draft. First pick is Connor McDavid, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's gonna
cost me a lot. Yeah. But you know what? He's also gonna put up like 200 points in the season soon.
So hopefully it'll help out.
My first pick is going to be Nathan MacKinnon. The most team-friendly deal in the NHL right now.
Besides, like, Leon Draisaitl, but he's not Canadian.
I honestly think McKinnon's more team-friendly. It's $6 million. Just over $6 million. Draisaitl's an unbelievably team-friendly deal. Don't even get me wrong. But the $2.5 million that I'm saving there, I think $2.5 million, I can get an extra fourth or a second liner even, you know? So, McKinnon's my first pick. Ooh, my second pick? This is a tough one. Points-wise, who's going to be second? I'm going to go with my second pick will be Brad Marchand.
No, that was actually my pick. Oh, no.
Brad Marchand will be my second pick.
Oh, no. My second pick for the Canas Canadian only fantasy draft will be Flower.
Marc-Andre Fleury. Wow, that is a
I'm going with
big one, dude.
I'm going with the goalie. I have to because obviously Price is out, but he's way too expensive. But
yeah,
but I have to get a good goalie, and Fleury's still a good goalie at his age. So
okay.
Ooh, okay. My third pick is gonna be Shea Theodore from Vegas.
That's a good pick. What is he making?
5.2.
Oh, that's a good degree. Okay.
I don't have money. McDavid, I love you, but why are you expensive?
Oh, this is actually a really smart one for me. Okay, you ready for this one? I don't actually like him too much, but...
Why? Because of the team he plays for?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
My next pick, with a cap hit of $5 million, is Morgan Rielly.
Ooh. That's actually not a bad pick. Except he plays for Toronto, so it's a bad pick.
My next pick
All right, you go. Yeah.
with a cap of just over $5 million is Darnell Nurse.
Well, it's 5.6. It's not just over. But that's also a good pick. That's also a good pick. Nice pick, nice pick. Okay, I'm just going to go big on this one because if he can play well on this line and improve from when he played with Toronto, then
It's a big, yeah, I know exactly what you're
Yeah.
going for.
then hopefully it works out because he's playing with McDavid. I'm going to pick Zach Hyman.
Good call. Yep. That's a good call. I like it.
Ew. Okay. I'm just saying ew because I'm looking at my money. It's probably it's probably lower than yours by a lot.
Yeah, I'm at, 12, 22, 23 million. That's like half of your salary for McDavid. McDavid
I'm
puts up half of it.
Wait, where are you
You're
at?
at 30. I'm at 22 million. You're at 30 about, hey? I'm at 23
Yeah.
million. You're at about 30. Cool.
Jeez. Okay. Ooh. Yes. I will pick him because why not? He's still pretty decent. He used to play for the Oilers. Now he plays for the Blues. I'm going to pick David Perron.
Great pick. Oh. Damn it. That's actually who I was going to go for next.
And only a cap hit of 4. Or, I guess AAV, but still. 4 million. I'm at 47. I don't have a lot.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God. Okay.
Is it?
My next
No.
pick is with a cap hit of 5.9 million and the last pick of this video.
Is it?
Yep, we're around 5.
We're doing, yeah, 5. Yeah. No, yep, you're right.
So last pick of this video, you guys are going to have to tune into the rest of my picks, our picks, sorry, is Jonathan Huberdeau with a cap of 5.9 million.
Damn, nice. Nice.
All right, so that's going to make it for this video this week, you guys. Thank you very much for listening. Stay tuned. Next episode that we're going to be releasing will be the rest of this draft, so definitely stay tuned if you want to know who we drafted, because this is a challenging draft, man.
This is fun.
This is really
I'm
tough.
actually excited.
And then something I'm really passionate about on Friday. I don't know if Cecil will be there or not, but we'll definitely have the co-host with us on Friday's episode of the Can-Ass podcast,
Our
where we're going to
substitute.
really divulge into the soccer, because there's a lot going on right now, and it's an incredible time to become a soccer fan in Canada. Like, you are watching the best of the best play right now for you. Like, you're never going to see better. So,
Yeah, it's only going to go up for
Exactly.
For our Canadian team.
exactly. So stay tuned. We'll talk about tennis, probably a little bit of MLB to see if Freddie Freeman's still in the playoffs at this point next week, and we'll just see how everything goes, and then we'll talk to you guys later on this week. Thanks very much for listening.
See you later.